This video is brought to you by my shop. Please check it out, there are a lot of cute things. Hello everyone! So as I probably have mentioned, the ScrawlrBox unboxing videos is my longest running series on this channel. I think the very first box that I received to do a little review of was the third one. So that is why I think today's ScrawlrBox unboxing is a little more special, because this is box number 99 and 100. Happy 100 boxes, ScrawlrBox! We'll start with box number 99. Ooh, a little eyeshadow applicator. My favorite kneaded eraser. We have a little orange sweet. Will there be pastel? I think there will. That is a gorgeous art style. I love all the different colors mixed together. Yeah, there must definitely be pastel in this box. Got some lovely cream colored paper with a very nice texture. Oh, I almost forgot, the artist of this very beautiful featured artwork is DUSD or Dust. Here is where you can find their art. Oh, soft pastel, a 2B pencil and a titanium white pastel pencil, and the star of the show, the Faber-Castell Soft Pastels Mini. There is actually 24 of them. Look at all these gorgeous colors. Oh my gosh, look at those. So cute. Tiny little soft pastel crayons. I am not a big fan of the dry pastel medium, but I'm slowly trying to figure it out. I think it is because my art is very controlled. When working with pastels only, you need to be very loose, but I am intrigued and I kind of want to learn more about them. So yeah, we got box number 99. Let's see what box number 100 got in store for us. Is it watercolors? I would love it if it is watercolors. From one of my least favorite mediums to one of my favorite mediums. Oh, this is so cute. Look at this, a little set of watercolor postcards. That is adorable. There we have it, 100. And we got the featured art, which is absolutely gorgeous with all the geometric shapes, and the artist is Clarissa Grandi. This is where you can find their art. £1 chocolate coin. We got a pin, a little 100 pin. That is adorable. I think we got a pin for the 50th box as well, so that is very nice. And a Signo Uniball gold gel pen. We got a plastic case in which I think we got some watercolors. We got a few of these Derwent paint sets in previous boxes with ink paint and graphite paint. Look at that, tinted charcoal paints. That is super interesting. I really look forward to swatching these. So yeah, these two boxes are very different from each other. We got one with a lot of colors. We got one with less colors. We got a very dry medium. We got a very wet medium. They are very much opposite to each other. Oh, I got an idea. Maybe I can draw the same thing, but one with art supplies from the 99 box and one with art supplies from the 100 box. That might be fun. But first, let's swatch the art supplies. So let's check out the soft pastels, and I don't know what it is with colors in the rainbow order. It is so pretty and satisfying. This set is gorgeous. Anyway, I'm swatching all the colors on the cream colored paper. I'm also already destroying these crayons. It will only go downhill from here. The little eyeshadow applicator sponge thingy works great for smudging and softening the pastels. Then we have the white pastel pencil, which is a little rougher in texture than the crayons, but it works great to layer on top of the other colors. And yeah, there we have them. So next, let's swatch the charcoal paints, which I'm very curious about. So these paints were a little different from what I'm used to. Usually when I'm swatching watercolors, I add a little bit of water to the paint pan and let it sit for a moment just to activate the pigments to achieve a more saturated color. When I added water to these paint pans, it was just sucked right up by the paint, leaving the color pan almost completely dry again. again. I assume it has something to do with the charcoal pigments in the paints. So I had to add a lot more water than I usually do to get a darker, more saturated color. We also have the gold pen, which really pops with these more muted paints. Alright, so I want to start by making a little test doodle just to get a feeling for the art supplies and also try to figure out how I want to work with them. With pastel crayons like this, you can't really draw very small or very detailed, so I decided to just go in with a lot of colors and try to blend them and mix them and see how it would all end up. It is just a semi-abstract doodle, but I ended up really liking how it turned out. It was a lot of fun playing around with these pastels. I wasn't really expecting that. I didn't do a lot of blending using my fingers or the little eyeshadow applicator sponge tool. I prefer the look of the rough texture from the crayons, so I did most of the blending with the crayons directly on the paper, blending and mixing the colors by adding different layers, which resulted in a lot of pastel pigments or dust building up on the paper. So I had to be really careful and I poured it out in the trash can just to avoid having it spread all over my desk and art room. But yeah, it turned out really bright and colorful. Speaking of colorful, these paints are not that colorful at all. I do like the desaturated earthy tones and how they mix in the water on the paper. They have a graininess to them which create these gorgeous textures. I started with making some blobs just to play around with the paints, and this is also just a little warm-up doodle to get to know the art supplies a little better. While I'm waiting for the blobs to dry, I created one more little piece, like an abstract landscape, I suppose, a sky, mountains, a forest. The white paint was very interesting when I dripped it on top of the other colors on the paper. Instead of mixing with the paints, it sort of just pushed them away instead and created like a cracked texture. Once everything had dried, I added some trees to the foreground, and Phoenix is of course helping me, keeping an eye on everything. He seemed to really like the smell of these paints for some reason. He started to lick them, so I had to chase him away. I added a moon and some stars with a gold pen, and then I went back to the blobs again and I added some gold patterns and details, and this is a really fun way to doodle. I think I mentioned it in my previous ScrawlrBox unboxing too. To create art without having to draw anything specific, you can just play around with the colors, textures, shapes, patterns. Anyway, here they are. Let's move on to the real art. So as I mentioned, the art supplies from these both boxes are pretty much the opposite. One is very colorful, one is more gray, one is dry, one is wet, and I thought it would be fun to do something combining these two mediums but not really using them together. My first idea was to make the same drawing but twice, one for each box and medium. It is always fun to see the same drawing in different mediums, how different they can be, and compare them. And I will probably do that, but for another video where I can use more different kinds of art supplies. But I came up with another idea for this one. I will use the art supplies in the same drawing but separately. Since it is Valentine's week, I was inspired to draw two cuddly kitties, and one of them will be colorful and one will be darker and gray. Starting with a pastel kitty, I wanted this to be as bright and colorful as possible. And to be honest, I was a little scared. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just added a lot of colors, blending them to each other, and I really hoped it wouldn't turn into a muddy mess. I also tried to not smudge the pastel dust all over the paper, so I had to take the paper and just tip it over on top of the trash can a couple of times. It feels a little wasteful seeing all those beautiful pigments go into the bin, but I'm not really sure what else I should do, and perhaps I could have blended out the pigments a little better, but I didn't want to blend the pastels too much. I wanted there to be a more rough blend and texture, and as I mentioned, I had to be careful. I'm using a lot of different colors next to each other. The blue blends very nicely with the yellow and pinks, but I didn't want the green to mix with the pink and orange or the purple and create muddy colors, but I think I managed to keep all the colors somewhat bright and clean. It wasn't super easy creating details with these pastel crayons. They are a little chunky, but I could use the corners of the crayon and get a somewhat sharp point so that I could create some stylized fur texture and also draw the little faces of the kitties. I think one of my biggest challenges here was to not overwork it. I kept wanting to add textures and colors and blend them. It was just a lot of fun. I think for being a medium that I very rarely use or don't even like that much, turned out pretty good. I like the colors and the textures, and sure, there are a few things that probably could be better, but overall I'm really happy with how this turned out. After cleaning off some of the pastel dust and smudges with a kneaded eraser, it was time for the charcoal watercolor kitty. I started with wetting the paper before adding the paint. I wanted a wet on wet look for the base, kind of like what I did with the blobs for the test doodle, where the different gray tones would blend in with each other. To be honest, these paints are a little strange to work with compared to regular watercolors. They didn't really act like I wanted. I would have wanted them to spread a little more in the water and create even more texture and pattern, but maybe that doesn't work with these kinds of paints, I don't know. I also wish there would have been a little more contrast between the color tones of the paints. I know these are charcoal, but it would be fun with a little more variety in the colors. Once the base layer had dried, I started adding some details and texture, just like with a pastel cat. I really like how the cats overlap each other with their paws and tails. I also love the symbolism. I guess it is basically yin and yang, dark and light. We need both for balance. I also like that they are holding each other. We all need someone bright and positive in our lives to pull us up when we are down, just as much as we might need someone to keep us on the ground when our minds and thoughts are all over the place. Also, since we're speaking of opposites, usually I love working with watercolors and I really hate pastels, but in this case I actually had a lot more fun with the pastels. I don't really mind the watercolors, they were a bit tricky to work with, but I love the vibrancy of the pastels and how intriguing they were to work with. After this very long and dark gray winter, I really needed some bright colors. So yeah, we have a colorful dry medium and a dark wet medium, and together I think they created a beautiful art piece with a lot of symbolism. Please let me know what you think when you see this art. But yeah, that is all for now. I hope you enjoyed this video and the art. Thanks ScrawlrBox for the boxes and happy 100. Thank you guys for watching and I will see you next time. Keep drawing my happy cats. Bye!